Like to call to order special meeting for the St. Louis County Government Public Transportation Commission. This is a special meeting to discuss budget. So at this time, call the meeting order at 4:06 p.m. 2024. Izzy, would you like to do a roll call?
Deborah Carter. That's all that shares on her.
It shows that she's here.
Yeah. Deborah, when you can, say something. We know Kim's not going to be here. James Cotter. Ed James.
Here.
Linda Camp.
Here.
James Neely.
I saw him.
He's there.
Here.
Okay.
There you go. Miss Rollins.
Here.
Ben Samuels. Jordan Sanders.
Here.
We do have a quorum. Thank you. Now for all those others in attendance who'd like to introduce yourself until by your departments. Anyone from the St. Louis County Executive Office?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Paul Hample here. Good to see everyone.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Okay, anyone
And
else?
Matt McLaughlin as well.
Okay. The Office of St. Louis County Council. Okay, hearing none. St. Louis County Department of Transportation, Public Works. Okay, no one here from Public Works or Transportation. St. Louis County Police Department. Okay. The Office of St. Louis County Council.
Yes, Associate County Councilor Portia Britt here for the County Councilor's Office.
Okay. Bi-State Development Agency.
Thank you, Chairman. This is Talby Roach. I'm the President and CEO of Bi-State Development. I will go to Tammy Fulbright.
I am Tammy Fulbright, the CFO at Bi-State Development.
Okay.
Chuck Stewart, Chief Operating Officer, Metro Transit. I think that's it for Bi-State.
Okay. Thank you very much. Today we're going to discuss the budget, the approved proposal for the 2025 budget and appropriation request to St. Louis County. Who's going to take the lead? Toby.
I'm ready to go, Chairman. Well, first of all, Chairman James, I want to thank you and the Commission for hearing our budget presentation. Of course, the first step in our process is to go through the County Executive's office and give this presentation. This is exactly the one that we present to the County Executive, and we get that thumbs up, and then our process is then we go through the Transportation Commission, where you guys authorize the fundamental legislation, which we will talk about today, and then we move to the County Council in their normal course of business. So I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank, of course, the County Executive and his office and his professionals who have reviewed that. And of course, the Budget Director, which we are in consultation with the Budget Director about many of these aspects. So I'll start us off, but most of this will be from Tammy Fulbright, my CFO, and I'm pleased to encourage all of the Commission members, if they have any questions or any additional detail. This is a very, very heavy, complicated budget, but really what it is translation of service to the community. Most of the service, of course, is in St. Louis County, so we take that very, very seriously. And we try to take care of that. But of course, what I like to do, and Tammy, if we can go to that first slide.
For some reason, I'm not able to move it. Sorry. There we go. Sorry about that.
There we go. That's all right. So this is often called Talby's favorite slide, right? And if you all would indulge me for a minute, what the reason is because in any public service entity, of course, of our size, what's more important than the year over year or a single 12-month is really where the trend is going. So it's very important as far as public service is concerned that we live within our means and that we create a consistency of service that not only that we can deliver the service today, but the service will be there for tomorrow and for the year after that, because we have folks who rely on us in their jobs and everyday existence to be sure that they can get there today and get there tomorrow. So one of the reasons why I like this slide is, as you can see in 2019, that was, of course, my first budget year at the helm of Bi-State Development. And one of the things that I asked both Chuck Stewart and Tammy Fulbright was to help me flatten out that curve. And indeed, the trend is very, very important. And what we've been able to do over these last 6 fiscal years is flatten that curve. So where we have been able to achieve an under 2% average growth over that period of time. Now, I will note, and I am happy to talk about that on that last year, we do have a little bit of bump. And as you guys are well acquainted with in our monthly updates to you, we've had an employment crisis. And in order to deal with an employment crisis, we've had to renegotiate that contract, right? And so I am happy to report, as you guys know, that of course, under many people's hard work, but especially Chuck Stewart, we have ratified a 3-year contract with our partners from the American Transit Union 788, and that contract is reflected in this budget. It is a little bit front loaded there. So we did, of course, move through the bonus system. We were able to give bonuses not only to our employees, our new employees through the $5,000 bonus program, but also our existing employees so that everything was leveled. So we do have a bit of a bump this year. We have a 4.4% increase that Tammy will go through very shortly. But remember, nearly 63% of this operating budget is based in labor. And labor is really, that's our secret weapon. Our secret weapon is our folks. And what the commission and the council and the county executive have asked us to do is be sure that we're making our investments in our people. And I'm very proud to report that that's essentially what we're doing. We are investing in our people and getting them out there on the street. In fact, one of the things that this commission asked us to do was, as soon as we could, return some of the service that we were forced to take out because of the labor crisis. And we did that. For the very first time, this agency actually returned service and increased service in January. Chuck was able to do that with his team, and we were able to return the frequency of routes. I think it was 15 routes, in fact, in January, where we were able to increase service primarily in the county. So we feel that we are working really hard to earn your vote today, and very happy to pass this on to Tammy Fulbright, who are going to move you through this on a slide-by-slide basis. Tammy, could you take over?
Yes, thank you. So you can hear
Thank
me
you, Mr.
okay?
Welch. Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So this next slide is really the recap of our budget in 2025 compared to our budget in 2024. But before I get started really walking through the revenue and the different expenses, I do want to talk a little bit about COVID relief money. It's been a big part of our conversations financially over the last few years. So I just want to remind everyone again that in 2023, we did bring in all of our COVID relief dollars. And in 2024, we have obligated those dollars for different purposes. So we brought in, or we allocated or obligated $60.5 million to St. Louis County, 33 to St. Louis City. And then we had a total of 51 that we have left for St. Clair County. And then we have 80 million set aside for a local match on our LRVs that you've probably heard about in the news that we got grant funding for. So that's the local match on those. So I just think it's important to remind everyone about that, because in the 2025 budget, there aren't any of these COVID relief funds anymore. So I just want to mention that to start. So starting with this first line item, passenger revenue. This is an important part of who we are as we run the transit agency. But as you can see, there's a slight decrease of about 200,000 from 24 to 25. And a lot of this is related to us really trying to get to where we actually think that passenger revenue is going to come in at. And so that's why you're seeing a little bit of a decrease there in that line item. The next line item, grant sales tax and contractual revenue. So this is the big one, obviously. This is where the sales tax funding goes for both St. Louis County and St. Louis City. We get grant funding, so federal vehicle maintenance. There's a little bit of a portion of the money we get in from the FTA that we put here, about $16 million. And then also our St. Clair County contractual revenue goes into this line item. So you can see that there's a variance and uptick of 8.3 million. And that's really accounting for some of the increase that Mr. Roach mentioned of the 4.4 increase of us asking for more in contractual revenue and sales tax. The next line item, investment income. So you can see there that we're showing an increase of what we're budgeting of about 9.3 million. So some of these funds can help us with that passenger revenue line item. Within the other miscellaneous non-operational revenue, so I thought I'd give a little bit more detail on there. There's not much change, but what really falls into those line items is some rental income that we get, some advertising income, the ATS contract that we have with St. Clair County. There's some rebates, and then primarily there's some other pass-through grant revenue that comes in here. So basically it's just a in and an out. So we show the revenue coming in, and along the operating expenses, you'll see, or actually other non-operating expenses, you'll see those expenses going back out. So that gets us a total of $357.3 million in total revenues budgeted for 2025. And then moving into the operating expense. So as Mr. Roach mentioned, total wages and benefits, it makes up about 63% of our operating expense budget, and it's at 204.8 million. So up about 7.7 million. But that number has actually, so that encompasses the union negotiation contracts, but also there's some offset for savings that we had both in medical and workers' comp there. So that's helping that number be a little bit more managed. Going into the next line item, services, so you'll see an increase there of about 1.5 million. The services line item, that's really where all of our security, police contracts, different consultants that we have, our different types of maintenance services for our facilities, custodial, that sort of thing. That's what's really hitting in that line item to get us to that 58 almost 2 million. In the next item, fuel and lubrications, that's really, basically our fuel for the buses, the diesel is a primary piece of that. You can see that we're seeing an increase this year of 1.5. So we do have a fuel hedge program. The purpose of the fuel hedge program is really to help us manage our budget so that we don't see huge increases when fuel is changing drastically at the pumps. So what you're seeing here is the realization of us now seeing some of that change. Over the last 3 years, we haven't had much of an increase. So this is more the reality that we see in this coming year. For parts and supplies, not much difference there. This is really all the parts and supplies we have for our vehicles and that we're using. The next line item, that's where you are seeing an increase for casualty and liability. So at 11.3 million, we have a $3 million increase. A lot of that increase is due to increases in premiums because if you remember, we had some flooding issues. And so because of that and just the market that we're in with insurance, we're seeing that $3 million increase in 2025. For utilities, we're pretty steady. Looking into the detail of that, really where we're seeing some increases really for electricity, for propulsion, for the Metrolink, and that's the main cause of that increase. For other operating expenses, this is where our training, travel and meetings, some advertising that we might do. That's really the line item where we see those expenses. So you can see that slightly coming down by about 300,000. And that's primarily due to kind of realizing where we are on training. So during COVID, we had a little bit of a decrease. People weren't weren't able to participate in some ways. And so we were a little bit up in the 24 year, but we're bringing that down by about 300,000 in 2025. And then the next line item is just our administrative fees. So not much change there. It's actually down to almost 200,000. So that gets us to a total operating expense of almost 329 million. So I'm going to go into the lower detail a little bit too. So the interest expense line item, so what you're seeing there is really related to our bonds and some leases that we have. And so that decrease there of the 3.3 million you're seeing between those 2 years is really related to bond refundings that we've done in the recent past. So it's helping us bring those expenses down. And then finally, the other miscellaneous non-operating expense, this is the other side of that where I said the pass-through grants are. So it's really an in and out. So from revenue, part of that is coming out in this line item. And then the other side of this is the sheltered workshops. And so that gets us to the total of 5.3. So it looks like we have net income of about 3.7 million when we go through all these numbers. But the actuality, if you jump down one line item to the net transfers, that dollar amount, that 3.9 million is really our self-insurance program. So we're really netting out. If you're looking up above that, and I know this is a little confusing, so I apologize. At the depreciation, you'll see that number is 64.6, which is almost what you're seeing in the net deficit. That's not a real or realized deficit. First of all, it's non-cash, but it's also funded by our FTA. So it really represents our capital program, our facilities, any kind of assets that we have, and the depreciation on those assets. And those assets are primarily funded by the FTA at an 80-20 split. So 80% is primarily covered by the FTA, and the other 20% is through local match. And so we ask for those local match dollars from our funding partners. Over the last few years, especially during COVID, we were pretty conservative in what we were asking for because we knew, there were some difficulties and times. And so we were trying to be conservative about that. We have been working to move those numbers up, but we are in good shape. And then this last slide, but maybe I should ask if there are any questions before I get into the request for this year.
There was one from a board member who couldn't be on the call today. It had to do with the passenger revenue. Her question was, why was the revenue down while the ridership is up?
Yeah, Chairman, I'll address that one since that's kind of more in my area, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So that is correct. Yes, we are projecting kind of a more conservative passenger revenue approach for this year. That's absolutely correct. And it's passenger revenue tends to be a very, very complicated issue. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of which is, so through COVID, one of the things that we did is we eliminated the transfer program, right? So for instance, paper transfers used to be used and our fundamental transit system used, and it was kind of a weakness of the fare revenue system to use transfers. So we eliminated that, and yet we have a lot of people who still make those transfers. So we moved the fare to that $1 piece for a bus ride, and that's been working very well. But at the same time, we're moving to a new fare revenue system. So we, as you know, and you've seen the secure platform plan is moving in, but in parallel to that is a new fare revenue system, which will allow us to, for instance, among other things, you can get on our system with just one of these things. And I've heard most people have these. So it'll be a good opportunity for us, and mostly because it should give us the ability to move our average revenue up, okay? Average fare, okay? One of the things about that is that as we're emerging out of COVID, and actually our fundamental ridership is still good. It's still strong. As a matter of fact, we're seeing like a year over year, like a 6% increase, and that's true. But one of the things that a very interesting data point is that what we're showing is that a lot of our customers or are more customers of need. For instance, nearly 74% of our customers, current riders, are reporting incomes of under 60,000 a year. So one of the reasons for that is we've seen a shift in our fundamental customer base where it does tend to be more customers who absolutely need that kind of ride. And of those customers, nearly 81% of them are going to one of two places, mostly jobs, right? So they're working folks who are getting to their jobs. The other is education. So what that's saying is then that we have a fundamental transit population that's a little bit more of need. And of that population, they tend to carry many more passes, or for instance, pass programs where they'll buy a monthly pass or even a discounted pass based on disability or income. So that means that the average fare, okay, that any person would use is actually going down, okay? So that means that we're trying to be a little bit more conservative as far as where we think the revenue is. So that's right. It is kind of a contrast that where more folks are riding, but because of our actual average revenue being a little bit lower because of pass, and these are frequent riders, we're seeing a little bit more compression on the revenue side. Now, the solutions to that are based on, for instance, security, and then, of course, doing the new fare revenue system, which will allow us to make some of those adjustments and move our fare revenue up appropriately so. So not hit the folks who are really transit dependent who need things, but work more in discretionary riders and move that revenue up. So I know that's kind of a long answer, but it's very complicated, and I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. But I wanted to be sure to address that in hopefully a quick way.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Any other questions for the either the passenger revenue or the operating expenses? Okay,
Deborah placed the
Yeah.
question in the chat.
okay. Oh, she placed a question in the chat. Okay. Tammy?
I don't know if I can see the question. I apologize. You guys said,
She had to leave early
Her,
and
Oh,
I was
yeah.
gonna say,
So
her question was it submitted to the county council and did they have any concerns?
So I'll answer that just very briefly, Tammy. So nope, well, we don't go to the county council until we get through you guys, right? Then it will be put on their agenda, and it's very likely they will ask, and I will give them anytime they want a committee of the whole or any of those. Now we have been giving and have been going to the county council on a quarterly update basis. So this was moved by actually the Chairwoman Webb, who asked us to come in advance so that there was less confusion when we did get to the budget issue. And we were just there a couple of weeks ago. Chuck gave a very detailed presentation. Tammy was there as well. And I thought it was really pretty well received. So we have been warming up the council and been trying to be very rigorous about that. But our process technically is county executive, then to the Transportation Commission, and then once we have this authorization, it allows us to now move to the county council. So that's where we are.
It's Linda Camp here. I have a question. Are
Commissioner,
we expecting any money from the state of Missouri?
Commissioners, I'm sorry, but I do need to ask, with Ms. Carter leaving, do we still have a quorum?
Yes, we do. We should.
No, and in the chat, it shows she's still
She's
here.
here.
She
Yeah.
just doesn't have audio.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought someone said she had to leave early.
No. When we took the vote, we had 6 members, I believe. Let me go do the count.
Jordan had to leave.
Jordan, okay, 1, 2, 3. So Jordan is not here. So we have 5 members present.
Mhm.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry about that, Commissioner Camp.
Well, and I just had a question. Do we expect any revenue from the state of Missouri this year?
Yes, we do. So, Toby, you want me to go ahead and move on that question? Answer? Yes, we do. Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing, I think, with mine too. So yes, we anticipate probably around $4 million. So we are putting those funds into our budget. We're primarily using those for the purposes of capital. So if you see this and you're looking through the book that we sent over to, you'll see that that the operating doesn't show that much, but that's because it's being used for capital. Can you guys hear me still?
Yes, I could.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can hear you. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. You're on stage, babe. Tammy?
Okay, we're okay, so we can move forward to the next slide?
Yes, we can. I
Okay,
believe we
thank
can, yes.
you. So this next slide is really the appropriation request, and we always like to, obviously walk through the sales tax and the three tax funds that help provide funding for our budget. So it's the 73 transportation, half-cent sales tax, and then also the Prop M quarter-cent tax and the Prop A tax. So last year, our request was for 198 million. And we just wanted to remind everyone that we funded a portion of that with the remaining federal COVID relief funds that we have. So when I was talking about obligating them, that was the 60.5 million. So we applied that to the FY24 operating budget. So in return, then from the sales taxes, we received 128.5 million. So we had the 60.5 in COVID relief funds, and we received 128.5 million in these three sales tax funds. For 25, we are requesting 197.1 million. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Hearing none, continue.
So that's really the presentation that we have for today. So I'll stop sharing here.
Share any other information. So anything else you want to add, Mr. Roach?
Thank you, Chairman. Nope. So what I would just ask is for, obviously, I very much appreciate everybody's votes. That then allows us to organize the legislation from which originates from you all, and then allows the chairman, assuming we get a positive vote, allows Mr. James, you as chairman, to sign that and send it off to the county council. And that's our process. So I sure do appreciate it. And not that this is not, as you guys know, we meet every month. We're going to continue to keep sharing. And I know it's a very, very complicated budget. I really appreciate everybody's patience on this and understanding all the process. And I very much hope that you've considered us responsive to the needs of the county.
Let me go back. I'm sorry, I forgot one of the questions that was asked by the one member who couldn't be here. Under the finance area,
Mhm.
there was a large increase under the wage and benefits. Can you address that?
Yes. So that increase in finance, so this is really about our financial management of our vacancies and how that has been impacted by filling those positions with the job market. And so every year we've been looking because we didn't want to ask for money when we didn't think we could fill all these positions, right? So we had a lot of open positions. On the operating side, Chuck's been doing very well, his team in filling positions. But we also have positions on our salary side too that we have trouble filling. And so what that increase that you're seeing in the 25 budget in the detail is really a placeholder for positions. We don't know which ones of those positions, but we basically look at it as a percentage. so that we're showing some type of increase because we do believe we'll be able to fill some of those positions. So we put it in the finance section. It reminds me constantly of where we are. And it's just a placeholder there for us to manage, how we're doing on our different positions that we might have that are still needing to be filled.
Yeah, I guess this wasn't, one of those things that you look at it and it's that snake you never see, it start biting you. It was large. And it brings your eyes to it, let's put it that way.
Yes, I understand.
Are there any other questions directed towards the bi-state staff? Okay. Hearing none, at this time, I would like to entertain a motion to, one, approve the appropriation and send it on to the county council and also enter into the records, the resolution for 2025. Do I hear a motion?
I move we accept the motion and the appropriation recommendation as published.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Was that Deborah? Oh, sorry. Okay. Roll call vote, all those in favor? Izzy, you want to take the roll call?
Yes. Sorry. James Neely,
Hi, can you hear me?
there we
Yes,
go.
we can.
Okay.
Linda Camp,
Yes, and if you noticed on the chat, Deborah had that her vote was yes.
yes.
Okay.
Miss Rollins,
Aye.
and who am I missing? Jordan had to leave. I believe that's it.
You missed
Chairman
me.
James?
Yeah, James, yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes. So the motion passed, so we'll sign it, send it to the county council for their review and recommend and approval. Thank you very much, Bi-State. We'll appreciate the help in the presentation. And, you look at that first letter and it says January, and it took almost a year to put it together. So it's not one of these things you woke up and said, "Hey, I got to do something for this meeting this afternoon." So we really appreciate the work and effort that you put into it, and thank you very much. And them 87 pages, man, that's a lot of pages. Can we summarize some of them? Get the same message with less paper.
I understand.
Okay.
Well,
thank you very
Chairman, we
much.
do spend a lot of your money, so we do try to be thorough.
And you spend a lot of Mother Nature money by cutting them trees down, man. But thanks for your effort and everything. We really appreciate it, and expect to see you at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. On the agenda, we have a couple more items, one more item specifically, if I can find them on paper. It has to do with the July meeting. As you know, this was a special meeting, and what we can do, we have a couple of options. We can use this meeting and not have a July meeting. Or we can, and with not having a July meeting, that means we will be off the month of July and the month of August. And then when we come back in September, Bi-State would have to basically cover report for 2.5, 3 months. The other option is to leave the schedule as is, and we will meet on the 8th, I believe it is, in a couple of weeks. So you want to discuss it? Someone make a motion one way or the other and see what flies. Any preference from anyone? If we leave it, let's go one step further. If we leave the schedule as is, that means we just adjourn the meeting now and meet in 2 weeks or so. If we want to schedule the meeting and skip the July meeting, then we would need a motion and a vote of the present board. So what is the pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, my question would be, what would we gain by having another meeting in 2 weeks? So, it doesn't, I mean, unless something happens that is unplanned, what would be the need for another meeting in 2 weeks?
The only reason we would meet is just to go over the reports from bi-state. Again, I don't think there would be anything critical, like you said, unless there's something really pressing, we can always get to a point where we can have a call meeting. But, or special meeting, not call meeting, but, to go to your point, I think just to meet and listen to the reports from bi-state and respond to those. Any other comments?
Yeah, I sort of agree. By September, by state, will you've heard anything from the county council as far as what they think about the motion for the budget?
My gosh, I better have that budget passed by then. I'd be in real trouble. So I am I'm cautiously optimistic that I think we'll be in good shape. We've really worked very, very hard at regaining confidence with this council. But I'm not going to say there's not always a little bit of a discussion. And I do expect that. So I would say that my Tuesday nights are going to be over at the county council. But that's what we've come to expect, and we'll hit that as hard as we can. And I'm optimistic that we can get this budget passed in the next few weeks. So I think that'll be good. I haven't heard they all know how to call me. Let me just say that, and they do. And very happy to follow up with them. As a matter of fact, Chuck Stewart has also talked to several council members about those individual bus lines, a bus, stop here or there, not uncommon. So I'd like to say that we continue to build that relationship, and I am cautiously optimistic.
Okay, well, it was partly, would you know anything in 2 weeks for our regularly scheduled July meeting?
Oh, no way. No.
No, I figured that.
Okay, then I say we skip the July meeting.
Let me go to Miss Portia. We lost one member, so we're down to 4. But on a vote like this, we started with a quorum, but we don't have to end with a quorum on a vote like this, do we?
I believe you would still need a quorum. But I can, if you all want to continue to discuss and give me just a second, I can verify that.
The other thing, I mean, yeah, if you would, just to be legit about it, I appreciate it. But so, I mean, one thing we can do, we can go ahead and take a vote of the members present. If we find out that we do need a quorum, then we can come up with another option. Is that okay? Oh, sorry, she's on the phone.
Yes, Commissioner James.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, you would need a quorum to take any votes.
Okay, Deborah, can you jump back on the meeting for a couple of minutes? We need a quorum to vote if we're going to have a July meeting or not. And Yeah, hold on a second. I have Deborah Carter on the phone, and she's on her way to another event. But she was present at the beginning of the meeting. I explained to her what the situation was, and we can go over it again. But if we do need a quorum, her vote will count. Correct?
Um,
Yes. It's the same as being present.
yes, this is something that I do think we need to discuss further, but I think for purposes of this vote and the vote to adjourn, we can go ahead and count that. But as far as needing to be able to actually verify people going forward, meetings in the future, we can discuss that.
Yeah, we can, yeah, feature. Okay. Do I have?
You need a quorum for this. I didn't know, I'm sorry, but
No.
I had to be somewhere else.
No problem, Deborah. Do I have a motion for the skipping of the July meeting
So
and,
moved.
okay, do I have a second?
Second,
This is good. Okay.
Okay, move properly second. Izzy, we just do a voice vote. We don't need a roll call vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you very much. Hold on one second, Deb. Any other business before the council or before the commission tonight? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor, voice?
Aye.
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 Deborah, thank you very much. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Mhm. I'm sorry, I wasn't aware, and she wasn't aware that we needed a roll call or a majority vote on an issue like this. But of course, you and I will discuss this going forward, and if we see a problem with this, just give me a call.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that was after me. Don't give me, no. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. In this case, we'll see you in September.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good
Thank
4th of
you.
July.
Have a good
great
4th.
summer, everybody.
Everyone do the same. Going on vacation, have a good one. Have fun for me. Or invite me along. Talk to you later.